G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 17th of January 2026. The coping and the seething shall continue. The noticing shall continue until morale improves. Zelensky the liar is at it again. Please sir, can I have some more? So, while Kiev burns, the Zero is fiddling. He is busking for more air defenses and other systems that we so much need. Like, he's always making it about us when you are the one doing the giving, and when it comes to the paying, it is you are partners. Supplies are inefficient. Oh, so my video yesterday was correct. And of course, our intelligence reports Russia is preparing a new massive attack. Oh, he must have watched my video yesterday. I wish more people would watch my videos. Oh, hello Zelensky. Are you learning anything yet? But of course he's saying, our intelligence. Really, it is our intelligence, not yours, that is doing the noticing. The CIA is helping Ukraine. No, really? Europe. Oh, Europe says, no. We overtake US intelligence support. So 17 intelligence agencies help Ukraine. But it's mine. My intelligence is mine. Yes. Yes, Captain Ukraine of the green screen Marvel Universe. But here's the reality on the battlefield. Right, Ukraine has shelled positions inside Russia, hitting energy infrastructure. Ukraine, again, was targeted. This time, at least, they admit it was power infrastructure. 115 strike drones. So there we go. We have a lot of activity on the battlefield. No one's going to go around. There is, of course, a lot of things to notice. That is, here, they are still working on this buffer zone. A little bit more expansion up here. The Russians are back in Kupiansk. Now, I don't know if this is bad translation or Russian disinformation on purpose, right? But Russia claims to have chased all the Ukrainians out of Kupiansk. Now, I think they should have said we're in the process, because I think Putin also looks up on the internet now and again and says, "Ha! I caught you lying. No pudding for you." So, battlefield commanders have, of course, I think Zelensky too, looking at these maps. Oh yes, the signs. I wonder what the signs, Zelensky. I wonder what signs told you there's a Russian offensive going on. Wait a minute. In yesterday's video, I told you how the Putin had announced that he was launching an offensive. Oh, what an intelligence man this Zelensky is. He notices that the Putin actually tells you what he's doing, and then he does it. It's almost as if he is taking the piss out of Western intelligence. And while he is, there has been some movement on the battlefield. Not much, but movement nonetheless. Some weird movement indeed. But Russia, of course, in some areas, is not advanced. But some areas it's only a little bit. Now, in other areas, the advancing is again at a trickle. So a little spurt yesterday and then a trickle today. Nothing new here, though this little area has been quite some time. Oh yeah, you can see in Myriad the little gap here. I think we'll start to see a westward push through here. Then the Russians will start to clear the railroad and link up with their forces around here. Link up their forces around here. Of course, they'd have to... what did he call it? Ah, yes. Cascade. Where they... Normally, I don't think cascade means to come under, but I think over. But they have talked about the cascading effect, where as smaller towns fall, it weakens the bigger ones. And it makes sense because they draw off troops from the bigger towns to defend the smaller ones. So instead of having a big unified defense on the high ground, where in solid defense lines, Ukraine is all these hodgepodge, and the concentrating of air defenses on power instead of, they need the power to run the air defenses. So it's a catch-22. Where do you put them? Well, they're protecting the political. They're not even protecting that very well either. But of course, Russia is deliberately not targeting the political. Never interrupt the enemy. Never kill a defeated leader, because he is your best asset on the battlefield. You don't want someone competent to take over. So we have a breakthrough here. Only a trickle here. But the Russians, having secured both the crossings, as I said they would secure, would go around, as I said they would yesterday, to cut off this, which will this will draw troops, hopefully, off the front line so they can finish Hulipol and ensnare this. Oh my God, Zelensky is watching. Hello. So the battlefield, of course, the Russians will continue to hammer their favorite spots, because the Ukrainians that are predictable for now. But there are some things they cannot help. Like, you cannot help ports, right? Ports, they're big, hard to move, and they should have the most air defenses, along with the power, right? But Ukraine, actually, ironically designed by the Soviet Union, managed to integrate their power so that if one station went down, they thought they'd have 3 backups across the field. But all Russia had to do was play tic-tac-toe, and as they noticed the lights go out, they knew which power junctions to hit. Now, of course, when it comes to fuel and other large shipments, yeah, it's hard when they're bringing, obviously, down the center. Well, shouldn't call it a river. It's a canal built by Stalin, one of many, allegedly. Though it is built along some natural river, but yeah, millions died building these, altering the course of rivers, blasting rock to build these antiquated highways of water. But yeah, it's primarily to bring water down to the nuclear power plant here, but they also use it for barges. Again, warehouses should be spread out more trucks coming and going, Ukraine should have never, ever, right, as soon as they lost the advantage in 22, that was it. But they should never, ever have thought that they could ethnically cleanse and get away with it. But of course, the Europeans, the trash liberal establishment, the cowardly and the hateful course, never intervened. You know, they always talk about morality and standing up to bullies, but they never stood up to Ukraine because it doesn't fit their narrative. They hate Russia for abandoning communism. They want to see Russia weakened so that China, because right now, okay, strategic time, big oil. Needs big oil. Can't invade because Russia will go missile, and as you've seen in Venezuela and Iran, since the fall of Tibet, China's pretty much a paper tiger. They rely on weakness and manpower. But now that their manpower has become unreliable, their air defense is unreliable, there's Turkmenistan, where the Turks come from, and Turkmenistan, this is where the Turks come from, by the way, Turkmenistan. These colonizers belong over here, neither here nor there now, but right, China undermined your position in Afghanistan, so did India, so did Pakistan. Pakistan, of course, is undermined internally by India and externally by China. So Pakistan in this region has no friends in this region, and this region just really, really hates them forever and a day. Mostly because Pakistan was full of criminals who had come down through Lahore into central Japan to steal and kill cattle, because they had they didn't believe in the Indian sacred cow, so to hurt the Indians at their heart of their religion, they'd come and kill their cows. So we're looking at an explosion, right, possibly on the scale of Ukraine or bigger, pending in this region, right, over the oil. You know, if China wasn't so bogged down here in Nepal and what's north of Bangladesh, this area here, and you could see whether or not you can see, this is known as the roof of the world. All right, this is huge, mountainous. This is the second half of the, right, well, there's probably more on the, most of the Himalayas are now in the Chinese border. But this has been pushed back. Bhutan, Nepal, all this, right, all the way up. China, as you can see, only has expanded its borders. Its towns that were once borders, right, where they had towns, there's now a huge gap, right? China has pushed into the Himalayas. You could see that. So Ukraine is, hi, let's bog down Russia. Let's keep Europe occupied. Let's try and drag the United States into it. Oh, they left Afghanistan. Okay, we'll drag them into another war. Oh, that's not working. Geez. Iran attack Israel. Israel preemptively attacks Iran, and Iran is now a problem. So they no longer have a strategic partner. China is no longer welcome, sort of, in Afghanistan. Pakistan is unreliable. Will India and China go to war? Not until China invades either of these. But it's also interfering, right? They wanted originally a rail right through here, and then start spreading rail back through here to have Chinese goods flow from here outwards. Ukraine was one of those countries in the way. China has had carefully prepared a series of brother wars, such as India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, various wars in Central and Central and West Asia, Iran holding back the Saudis by attacking Israel and forcing Saudi Arabia to worry that, if the region gets, if everything goes hot, their power and influence in the region, which has mostly been exercised through Israel. And you start to see, you realize that World War I was about railroads and control of global trade, because railroads from the Middle East to Germany and would strengthen, not weaken, the Ottoman Empire and strengthen Central Europe. You can understand why the British went into Iraq. But you see time and time again, the wars are not obvious. This is Britain wanting Crimea, right? There's something the British know, right? And I think it is the British know the volume of oil in the Black Sea, which is only now, right? I think they have a pretty clear understanding of maybe 10 to 20% has been siphoned off, which leaves a huge reserve, only counted now, as other reserves still allegedly are big. Allegedly, we don't know how long or how much, right? But why would they worry about Crimea when they have the Arctic? Well, they don't. If they open up the Arctic oil, they have to share with Russia and other nations. You look at maps and start to realize it's the same thing with the Black Sea. This is all, they talk about strategically counting Russia, because Russia, if Russia strengthens their position, if Russia could gain some momentum and retake its territories, start rebuilding its rail, start rebuilding its population, start rebuilding its national pride, they could become the richest country in the world. And the British are going, you can imagine the British, right? Particularly the bankers in London, who are now facing someone who doesn't need or depend on them. And I think it's more the fact that Russia is independent that really cheeses them off. And for some reason, they think Crimea is the keystone to that independence. It could be because it's one of the few sources of national pride. Crimea is a sacred area to the Russians. And I think people don't understand that. That's where they fought the Turks to a standstill and lost 20,000 Russians to slaves who were taken prisoner and forced to be slaves under the Ottomans. The Turks, of course, fear that Russia one day will use Crimea as an invading point to drive them out. Russia doesn't want... I would... If I knew that Russia was definitely going to liberate Constantinople for the Eastern Church, I'd support it. Kick the invaders out, If India can kick the British out after hundreds of years, or South Africa kick the whites out after hundreds of years, why not? Why can't we kick out London Stan? Why can't we kick out the Indians? Why can't we do... They kicked us out. Turn around, it's fair play. Why shouldn't the Russians have ambition, right? If the world's going to play these silly games, you can't condemn Russia. Be honest. Be reasonable, right? If you really want peace, right, you have to have a multipolar world where the major powers are no longer trying to conquer each other, and all the small nations huddled up against their nearest neighbour and have a nice wall between. Maybe there will be still some conflicts. It's hard to say. But I think we're getting to the point where we're realising that there's no winning fighting over resources, and that we should be listening to Elon Musk. We should be building ships. We should be finding ways off this rock, because even if we fight over the resources, eventually, probably even less than 1,000 years, you'll get down to only enough resources to support a few million people, right? You're going to have mass starvation. Technology isn't going to solve anything because we're too busy fighting for the next 100 or so years over bloody Crimea just because Keir Starmer has a hate boner. Or Zelensky is a greedy, stupid, short-sighted little man. A penis who plays the piano. And they lie constantly. But now and again they decide to tell the truth. Russia has advanced in the last 24 hours, according to Al Jazeera. Not according to Ukraine, of course. Russia has attacked Ukrainian energy infrastructure 7 times in the last week. That's more than previous. And Ukrainian drones have attacked Russia. Ukraine is not an innocent victim getting... but they have an energy crisis. Peace talks are stalled, but they're still talks. Ukraine is on its way back to Washington. They were in, I think it was Cyprus yesterday, talking with Macron. But as Russia attacks energy woes, Trump has again called out Kiev for being less than ready to do a deal, right? They keep changing the terms, like the 28 terms, 28 terms. Trump's 20 terms, down to 20, now 19. And then says, oh, there's still some sticking points. And still won't trust anything Putin says. Well, how are you going to get a peace deal if you're never, ever, ever going to say, right, this is how we have established systems of verifications. We have a very good system in place in Korea, right? In Korea, if North Korea, even if North Korea fucks around, they still, right? They don't know you don't always know how Kim Il-jung gets a little bit of a spank, right? He launches missiles, he does all sorts of things, but trust me, North Korea ain't doing so hot. And now, of course, we're looking at more sanctions, but not so much on Russia, but China and India for Iran, for funding the Ukraine war. Russia's is slowly getting squeezed. But for now, they're still making a profit. Russian oil tankers are in the crosshairs. Though legal blocking is impossible, Russia may find that those few ships, right, may not be enough, okay? Those few ships are not going to be enough to save China. China will eventually stop buying Russian oil, okay? If America is able to seize only a few per month, right? China is so thirsty for fuel, they can't get enough. Their economy is crumbling because they're so used to getting it at a discount from Russia and Venezuela, and they can't get enough from Russia, they can't get enough from Venezuela, and plus the Russians have to prop up North Korea and Cuba. China is also trying to prop up North Korea and Cuba. The only country they don't have to prop up is Vietnam, for now. But it looks like if Russia is called on to prop up China, well, they can't even prop up Iran. And Iran was propping up China with oil. Now, there's a lot of stories out there about the undeclared war, about failing peace deals, Zelensky switching ministers. That's easy. He's trying to put them all under pressure in order to get someone who comes up with a genius, brilliant idea that will save him. He doesn't care about Ukraine. He just wants, something. Some brilliant strategy, Here's one. Nope, didn't work. Too bad, so sad. No, it's Captain Sky Shield failed, right? They put all their eggs into one basket. And Russia knows from their own experiences, air defenses are eventually worn down. Right? Russia did not start the drone war. Ukraine did. Russia was happy to prepare a traditional artillery war. Did I? Yeah, that ad just changed when I mentioned Vietnam. Nah, I'm paranoid, right? So France has escalated intelligence support. Oh no, it is no. It was me. It was me. I saw Dave talks and he said the Russians are preparing. Ignore the French. Okay. But oil tankers and French intelligence, I'd still say Russia will go as close as they can to the red line before crossing it, and they'll only cross it if they have China's support or India's support, but I doubt it. Now, it's claimed that last year Ukraine was overwhelmingly dependent on American intelligence. No, really? So all those big operations weren't British intelligence? Sorry, Keir Starmer. I guess when you were bragging about the British contributions to Ukraine, you were huffing that Jamaican ganja. But no, according to Ukraine, it's France. It's France, I tell you. And oh no, turns out it's Ukraine and France are military hubs in Ukraine, and they want their little permanent pieces of the pie, because that's what they do. You see, these politicians, they create legacies. In reality, these legacies are cash flows to keep them in the loop well after the war as consultants, right? They don't care about Ukraine. They care about the money, like Tony Blair and his, they wheel him out for everything now, because he's got all these contacts across the Middle East. It's all corruption. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you all. And see you in the next video. Bye for now.